Today we're diving into the dynamic world of real estate with our special guest, Leah Bastin, a licensed realtor based in Columbus, Ohio. Leah takes us on a journey through her fascinating career, sharing her insights on a job that offers both freedom and fulfillment. Whether fresh out of school or considering a mid-career shift, the real estate industry may be the job for you. This is Career Chats with Katie and Robin.
Welcome, Leah. We are so excited to meet you and have you on Career Chats today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
So to begin, why don't you tell us what you do and what a typical day looks like on the job for you?
Yes, so I am a licensed realtor in Columbus, Ohio. One thing I love is no day is the same. Every day is different. And sometimes you might have your day planned out, but maybe a property comes on the market or an issue arises and you have to kind of change and adapt. And that's what I love. You never get bored. But typically when I start the day, a lot of what my job involves is communication. So I am attached to my phone, my computer. So I'm catching up on emails, text. I probably text the most as far as communication goes, returning phone calls, voicemails, reviewing calendars, planners, and then kind of getting started on my task for the day or getting ready to go to an appointment. I would say my days are very kind of structured and appointment-like. You know, I have so much time and so much time here and so much time there, and then maybe I have a break in between, and it keeps me on my toes, and that's what I like about it.
So how did you find yourself in this position?
It was really kind of happenstance, and I never thought real estate wasn't even on my radar. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I moved to Columbus, Ohio after college, and I worked in corporate retail. At that time, I had met somebody who was in real estate and was looking to hire an assistant, and I was curious, so I shadowed them for a day. It instantly clicked for me. I loved it. I just felt like it's everything I didn't know I wanted to do. I always envisioned I'd have clients, but I didn't know how that looked or what that meant. And, you know, coming from corporate where, now this was like 11 years ago, so way pre-COVID, where you had to be at work at a certain time and you were in the office and you couldn't leave and you worked late and you didn't have a lot of time and you didn't have a lot of balance. Where what I liked about real estate and having the clients and the flexible schedules where, yes, you might work a lot of evenings and weekends, but you have balance in your schedule. You don't need someone to approve you to take time off if you need to be with your family. And I liked the freedom of kind of creating my own career and what that looked like for me. So that experience changed everything. I went in, put my 2 weeks notice in, and I haven't looked back.
Wow, that's awesome. So as kind of like a career switcher, what did that look like? What were the requirements for you to get licensed and that sort of thing?
So in the state of Ohio, you have to take, I believe it's 120 hours of specific classes and specific courses, and they have so many hours for each class. Then you have to pass a state and national exam to be licensed. Once you're licensed, you have to have a brokerage sponsor you to hold your license. And then you have to learn how to sell real estate. You don't learn that in your classes.
Okay.
You want to find a brokerage that has really great training programs for new agents on how to work, the MLS, or how to just run your business, or have a great mentor. A lot of options are joining a team where you have a lot of business coming your way, but you kind of have some different commission splits there. It takes a minute. It's a learning curve, but it's very rewarding because you get out everything that you put into it.
How does somebody find a brokerage? Do you just like call up local ones in your area, or how does that work?
So when I took my classes, there was a career professional school that I went to, and they would have career nights where brokerages would come in and you would get to walk around and meet with different brokerages. But yeah, you have to reach out and you have to interview with them and kind of see what's going to be a good match for you. Different brokerages have different philosophies, different fee structures, and they offer you different things. So you really kind of want to find out what fits you. And then a lot of people change brokerages, I think, once they get started and start really figuring out, you know, once they're kind of set in their career, what they need and what their they're looking for, because that's kind of how it works in a nutshell.
That's really helpful.
So what's your favorite part of the job? And we always have to ask, what's your least favorite part of the job?
My favorite part is my clients, and that's why I got into this business. When I worked in corporate, it wasn't, feel good. It wasn't, I didn't feel like I was making a difference in an individual person's life, where having clients and getting to work with them to purchase one of their biggest investments that they'll ever make, it's huge. And they put so much trust in you, and you really become their confidant. And in a way, I kind of think of them as clients for life. So as their families grow and change, you get to grow and change with them. So from the starter house to the bigger house to the forever dream house, it's really fun to kind of be a part of that experience. And I try, I can't control everything, but I try my best to make it as smooth of a transaction as possible and try to limit any stressors that I can, because just moving in and of itself can be very stressful. My least favorite part would probably be having to deliver bad news, having to have difficult conversations. It's unavoidable, because here in Columbus, Ohio, we have an extreme seller's market. So we don't have a lot of inventory. We have a lot of demand. So a lot of properties get multiple offers. And a lot of times your client's offer is not accepted for various reasons. And sometimes it's not just one house, it's multiple houses they're missing out on, depending on what they're looking for in their price point. And to have to keep delivering that news is hard, because I'm anxious about it. I can't imagine how they feel. This could be their potential house. Everything's on the line. So having to work really hard to deliver that news in a constructive way to keep them encouraged in the market. And I will say this, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. I tell my clients that, because we'll be at a closing table and they're thankful that they didn't get the houses that, they were upset about, because there was something better out there for them. And so, really trying to be their cheerleader and stick with them through this process, because it's so worth it to not give up and to have that investment, because values are only increasing, interest rates are only increasing. So, I hate for someone to miss out on an opportunity because of discouragement. So I would say that's probably my least favorite part, because I want the best for everybody. So having that conversation is not fun. I don't enjoy it.
Oh man, I can't imagine. So what kind of personalities do you think would thrive in the day-to-day work environment?
Being a realtor, it's a people business. So you have to like working with people and working with the public, because that requires a lot of you. How you need to communicate with one client is different from another client. Circumstances of how they're buying, how they're selling is different. So having great communication skills, liking and enjoying to work with people, because you do take on a lot of what your clients are going through. That I would say is very important, along with being motivated, because you're running your own business. So nobody's going to be following up with you saying, hey, did you call people today to see if they want to see any houses? Did you work on your marketing? Did you do this? Did you do that? No one's going to do that. So you have to be very self-motivated. And I think you have to be have perseverance, because it's not an easy career. There's a lot of competition amongst other agents, and so you can be competing with them. Sometimes deals fall apart, things that you can't control happen. So if you get knocked down, kind of getting back up and staying in the game and taking that as a learning opportunity, I think are very key points.
Oh, such good advice. Kind of along those lines, is there anything else you would tell someone who's thinking about entering the field?
Yeah, I would say definitely shadow somebody. If you know somebody who's a realtor, shadow them. That's what worked for me. And I've had people throughout my career reach out to me, and I'm always happy to provide advice or an opportunity for them to shadow and hang out with me for the day, just to get an idea of what it looks like. It's not always glamorous. It's not what you might see on TV. It's not selling sunset. It's sometimes it's like you're kind of getting dirty. I mean, not every house you show is a beautiful mansion. And, sometimes your feet are sticking to the floor. You're walking through cobwebs, or maybe you're cleaning out a listing, getting it ready for the market, or you're mulching, or you're weeding, or, you do a lot. You wear a lot of hats. But I think that it would be really helpful just to kind of see what it's like, to see if that type of environment would work for you. And for me, coming from corporate, I think the biggest thing was you're on your own. You don't have anyone that you're really working with if you're an individual agent versus, being on a team and working with other agents. So you spend a lot of time on your own and you have to be very, very self-motivated. So I think shadowing would give somebody a really great taste of a day in the life.
That's great advice. Also, speaking of TV, can you tell us about your experience on House Hunters and how that even came about?
Yeah.
And what that was like?
So that was a really cool experience for me. And so that was back in 2017 where we filmed it. I think it aired at the beginning of 2018. Actually just spoke with my client a couple of days ago that I filmed that with. We've kept in contact and we were chatting about the experience. So she applied for it, my client, the buyer. She applied for it. I didn't know she was doing it. And they made it through a couple rounds of interviews with the producers of House Hunters. And then when it got to the next round of interviews, then the realtor, I had to be involved in an interview. So she asked if I would do it. And I said, yeah, I mean, why not? It was something new. So I had to do like a video interview for it. And then when they approved it and came to Columbus, it was a lot of work. I believe it's 5 days of filming. And my part of it was 3 days. And it was almost like 8 to 10 hour days. And you had a break for lunch, but it was like straight filming and retaking scenes and walking in and doing this and doing that. And then you didn't know how they were going to edit it. And something fun that we did when we found out about the release date, we kind of had a watch party. We had a whole like top bar room at this restaurant and we invited all of our friends and the episode aired. And it was really funny to see how they cut it together and they cut the interviews together because maybe they would make it sound like you were talking about something one way, but it was very interesting how they pieced it together. It was a cool experience. You don't get paid. You don't make any money off of it, but it was a really cool experience to do. But it did take up a lot of time. I don't know if it's something I would want to do consistently. Would I do it again? I'm sure I would, but it does take up a lot of time. But it's really cool to say that you've done it. And sometimes it reruns and people see you on TV. And it's kind of funny, when they're like, hey, I saw you on TV the other night.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah.
Awesome. So do you think there will be more or less opportunities for people to do this kind of work in the future?
I think there's always going to be real estate opportunities because you can do so much with it. And there's always going to be people buying and selling homes and needing that guidance and advice and that market knowledge. We really protect our clients and also protecting your asset as well. When you go to buy, you want to make sure you're buying it at a fair price. But when you're going to sell it, you also don't want to make sure you're leaving money on the table. And it's been a little bit interesting because there's been a lot of companies that have been coming in and trying to cut out the realtor where they'll come in. Maybe they'll just try to purchase the property from you and then they'll go to sell it. But they're purchasing it from you for significantly under market value. Every circumstance of a person selling is different, but I think it's great to have a local trusted realtor come in to help get you the most money because isn't that the point of buying and selling real estate? It's an investment as well as a place to grow and make memories, but also you want to make sure you're getting a good return on that investment. And that's something a realtor can help you do.
For sure. And so for you personally, how does what you're doing now fit into your projected career path? Is this what you plan on doing for a while or is there like an obvious next step?
For me personally, I enjoy being my individual realtor self. There's a lot of other things that you can do with it. You could be a team leader. You could own your brokerage. You could invest and develop and flip. But for me, being an individual agent, this is where I want to stay until I retire. And when I say retire, my dream retirement is to own a bed and breakfast. So I don't ever want to stop working. But if I ever do anything else, it'll be what I call my retirement.
I love that.
Doing a B&B, like that's something I always dreamed about, especially in college. I love that. I love that.
So beyond the pay, what are some of the benefits, the perks, the advantages of the work you do?
Well, being a realtor, you're an independent contractor. So you really don't have any company benefits provided to you. You don't have health insurance. You don't have a retirement plan. So you have to do all of that on your own. And it's doable. You can purchase your own health insurance. You can work with a financial advisor on your retirement plans and savings and investments. So from that perspective, you don't really have those benefits that come. But I will say this, from my experience in the corporate world, you can work and do a lot, but you don't have a lot of control over your future growth and necessarily your income in the corporate world. You might get a bonus, you might get, a raise, a percentage of a raise, but something about real estate is you get out what you put into it. So you can work it and you can make six figures, well into the six figures. You can make seven figures a year. So you get such an opportunity to build wealth and work the business that I feel like you don't have as much in the corporate setting. You can grow, I think, your income and your business a lot faster when you own your own business and you have the control over that. But it's also nice because if life changes and you want to pull back and not work it as much, but still have some income, you can do that as well. So it's a very flexible job that I think can grow and mold and change, with your life.
Oh, I love that.
That's awesome. That's a huge benefit.
Yeah, that's big.
Is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know about becoming a realtor?
I feel like the best thing, and I'm sure I've mentioned this, is it's very rewarding work. If you like people and you can be self-motivated and like being your own boss, I think it's a wonderful opportunity and it can grow in so many different ways. Having your real estate license can look very different to everybody, but you also meet a lot of people and from all walks of life. And that's really, really what I love is just to meet new people and get it to be a part of their lives. So that just brings so much fulfillment. And that's something that when I was in college, I wasn't necessarily looking for it. And when I started working in the corporate world, I wasn't necessarily looking for it. But after being in that corporate setting for me personally, I needed that fulfillment, that enrichment of having making an impact in somebody's personal life. And that's something that, real estate can provide.
Leah, thank you so much for being here today. This was so great and we really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Career Chats is hosted by Katie Huddleston and Robin Coney. Show notes and guest info can be found on our website, careerchats.show. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love you to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, stay curious.